The rain fell softly over the muddy trenches of France, blurring the horizon between sky and earth. Private Samuel Hayes crouched beneath a tattered canvas sheet, the flickering light of a candle casting a faint glow over a worn piece of paper. His fingers, roughened by months of battle, trembled slightly as he lifted his pencil. The distant thunder of artillery echoed through the night, but he didn't flinch anymore. He had grown used to it. The sound of war was as common as his own heartbeat. He glanced down at the letter before him, already stained with dirt and a smudge of dried blood on the corner. He had started and stopped so many times, unsure how to begin, how to say goodbye without actually writing the word. But tonight felt different. Tonight, he had to finish it. "Dear Mary," he wrote slowly, each stroke deliberate, "if you're reading this, it means I couldn't make it back home. I pray that's not the case, but I've learned that in war, prayer and fate don't always meet." The pencil paused. Samuel closed his eyes, letting the memories flood in at the scent of pine trees from their small farm in Vermont, the sound of his wife's laughter echoing through the kitchen, the way their daughter Lily's hair caught the sunlight when she ran through the fields. Those memories were his refuge in a world that had forgotten gentleness. He had enlisted 2 years earlier, like so many young men, driven by duty and pride. He remembered the day he left at the train station crowded with soldiers and waving flags, the air thick with tears and hope. Mary had stood there with Lily in her arms, her smile trembling but brave. She had pressed a folded piece of paper into his hand, a Bible verse she had copied for him, "I will fear no evil, for you are with me." He had kept that verse tucked in his breast pocket ever since, worn and faded, but still his most prized possession. Now, as he sat in the damp darkness of the trench, that same verse whispered in his mind. He looked back at the letter. "I've seen things out here I never thought a man could see and still remain whole," he wrote. "The earth shakes beneath us, and the sky rains fire. We bury friends with trembling hands, and still, the next morning, we fight again. Sometimes, I wonder if God still walks among us. But then I remember you, and Lily, and the home we built together, and I believe He does through the love that still lives in us." The candle flickered as a cold wind swept through the dugout. Outside, a whistle blew, and men's voices shouted orders. Samuel knew what that meant: another push at dawn. They had been told this offensive might finally break the enemy's line, but every soldier knew what that really meant: more names to write home about, more letters that would never reach the readers. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small tin box. Inside was a lock of Mary's hair, tied with the blue ribbon. He stared at it for a long time before continuing to write. "Tell Lily that her father is proud of her. Tell her to chase the fireflies in the summer and never stop believing the world is beautiful. Tell her that her laughter is what kept me alive through the nights when I thought I'd never see the sun again." He smiled faintly, picturing Lily running barefoot through the grass, her arms stretched wide, calling after him. He could almost hear her voice, light and innocent, calling, "Papa, Papa, come catch me." The shelling began again, distant but drawing closer. The earth quivered underfoot, dust falling from the trench walls. Samuel pressed his lips together and kept writing. "Mary, I want you to know that you were my courage. When I charged across the fields, when the bullets flew past me, I thought of your face, and somehow, I found strength I didn't know I had. You once asked me, before I left, if I was afraid. I told you number, but that wasn't true. I was terrified of dying, yes, but more of leaving you alone. Still, I went because I wanted our Lily to grow up in a world where she never had to know this kind of fear." A sudden explosion nearby shook the ground, and the candle went out. Samuel's heart pounded, but he didn't stop. He relit the candle, shielding it from the wind with his hand. Around him, the other soldiers stirred, their faces ghostly in the dim light. Someone muttered a prayer, someone else vomited quietly in the corner. Samuel wrote faster now. "Tomorrow, we go over the top. They say it'll be quick, that victory is near. I don't know if that's true, but if I don't come back, promise me you'll live. Don't spend your days waiting for ghosts. Build a life again, love again. Because that's what I would have wanted. Day for you to smile, for Lily to know happiness. His pencil hesitated. There was one more thing he had to say, something that weighed on him more than fear itself. I killed a man yesterday, he wrote, the words trembling onto the page. He was young, younger than me, maybe no older than 16. When I looked at him, after it was done, I saw his photograph fall from his hand. It was a picture of a girl, maybe his sister, and in that moment, I understood that he wasn't my enemy. He was just another man trying to get home. I buried him myself, and I said a prayer. War makes us forget that we are all the same underneath the uniforms. I don't want Lily to ever know hate. Promise me you'll teach her kindness. He paused again, wiping at his eyes. He hadn't cried in months, but now, the tears came freely. Outside, dawn was beginning to creep into the sky, a pale gray light breaking through the mist. The sergeant's voice rang out, calling them to readiness. The attack was only minutes away. Samuel folded the letter carefully and placed it inside an envelope. On the front, he wrote, Mrs. Mary Hayes, Vermont, United States of America. Then he tucked it into his jacket pocket, over his heart next to the Bible verse she had given him. He stood up, slinging his rifle over his shoulder. Around him, the men were lighting up along the trench, faces pale but resolute. He recognized each of them: Tom, the joker who carried a harmonica everywhere; Lewis, who kept the photo of his twin boys in his helmet; and Carter, the youngest, who still flinched every time a shell exploded. "See you on the other side, Sammy," Carter whispered, forcing a smile. Samuel nodded, gripping his shoulder. "We'll make it, kid. Just keep your head down." The whistle blew. The sound was shrill, slicing through the chaos. The man surged forward, climbing out of the trench into the open field. The world erupted. Machine guns rattled. Shells burst overhead. Samuel ran, his boots sinking into the mud, his heart pounding against his ribs. He saw men fall around him, one by one, swallowed by smoke and earth. He kept running. Every step was a prayer, every breath a borrowed second. A bullet tore through his arm, spinning him sideways, but he pushed on. He could see the enemy line ahead, just beyond a stretch of barbed wire. He threw himself to the ground, crawling forward, clutching his rifle. The air was thick with smoke, screams, and the metallic scent of blood. Then, suddenly, there was silence. A sharp pain seared through his chest, a single, perfect moment where everything stopped. He looked down and saw the dark bloom spreading across his uniform. The letter in his pocket grew wet, the ink bleeding into the paper. He fell onto his back, staring up at the gray sky. The clouds moved slowly, almost peacefully. He thought of Mary's face, of Lily's laughter, of sunlight over golden fields. A strange calm washed over him. His lips moved soundlessly, whispering her name. "Barya Broken Bar." A medic ran to him, shouting something he couldn't hear. The sounds of war faded, replaced by the faint hum of memory and the rustle of wind through the apple trees, the warmth of home. He felt the letter pressed against his heart, and he smiled. "I'm going home," he murmured, and then the light dimmed. Weeks later, in a quiet town in Vermont, Mary Hayes stood on the porch as the postman approached. His eyes were downcast. He handed her a small envelope, worn and creased, the edges stained. She recognized Samuel's handwriting instantly. Her hands trembled as she opened it, and as she read, her tears fell silently onto the page. The words were soft and raw, filled with the love and sorrow of a man who had given everything. When she reached the end, "Promise me you'll teach her kindness." She pressed the letter to her chest and closed her eyes. That night, she sat with Lily by the fire. The little girl looked up at her, wide-eyed and curious. "Mama, will Papa come home soon?" Mary smiled gently, though her heart ached. "He's home now, sweetheart," she whispered, brushing a curl from Lily's face. "He's home with us. always. Lily leaned against her mother's arm, the firelight dancing in her eyes, and as the wind rustled through the apple trees outside, Mary felt a peace settle over her. She looked up at the night sky and whispered, "Thank you, Samuel." Years later, when Lily was old enough to read, Mary gave her the letter. The paper was fragile by then, the words fading, but the love within them had not dimmed. Lily kept it close all her life, a reminder of the father she never fully knew, and of the power of a soldier's last words. And in that small farmhouse in Vermont, the letter remained a silent testimony to the courage, the love, and the humanity that even war could not destroy.